Welcome to part 2 of my rewrite for Transformers 2. If you haven't already seen part 1, the link is in the description below, and I highly recommend you watch that before moving on with this video. But if you're busy and you don't have time, here's a quick recap. If you don't need the recap, you can skip to this time in the video. It's been a couple of months since the end of the last Transformers film, and in that interim, one Autobot ship has responded to Optimus's call, and 9 more Autobots have joined their brethren on Earth. Since the Decepticons failed to resurrect Cybertron by letting the Allspark slip into the hands of the Autobots, the Decepticons are falling back on a contingency plan that Megatron came up with in the final days of the war. Megatron has a secret fleet hidden on Earth's moon that they can use to conquer the human race and force them into rebuilding Cybertron. But Megatron's fleet ran out of energon and went into stasis a long time ago. To reactivate them, the Decepticons are going to need a lot of energon. So, Megatron and his master are going to use an ancient device called the Star Harvester to get all of the energon that they need. Spike graduates high school and gets a job at the local energon refinery. Optimus and Chip pay a visit to the refinery just as the site is attacked by Constructicons. Optimus fights off all of the Decepticons by himself, but he is mortally wounded when he shields the humans from an explosion with his body. On the brink of death, Optimus is rushed back to Autobot City, where the Autobots get to work healing him. Optimus finds himself in limbo and facing judgment by the 13 Primes to see if he is worthy to join with the Allspark or not. Meanwhile, in order to save their precious leader, the Autobots are going to have to undergo a desperate mission. They need to gather some rare Earth metals and modify them so that they can use them to help heal Optimus. Bumblebee volunteers to lead this team, and he picks RC, Mirage, Blur, Wheeljack, Sideswipe, and Sunstreaker to accompany him, along with a handful of Nest agents. Bumblebee smuggles Spike into the task force as they prepare to mobilize for their mission. Alright, here we go. Act 2. Now that the squad is assembled, their quest can begin. Just because I'm a nerd and this is my personal preference, I'd include a shot with the assembled Autobots and humans that's an homage to the Fellowship of the Ring. Before they leave, Wheeljack will upgrade Bumblebee with some new stealth-based weapons that include a set of arm-mounted tasers called Stingers. Wheeljack tells Bumblebee that he got the inspiration for these weapons after researching Earth's insects. Mirage will take Wheeljack's prototype cloaker, and Wheeljack himself will bring his latest invention, a gun that is capable of firing bubbles that momentarily freezes anything that gets caught inside of it. I got the idea for this weapon from Hot Rod's time-freezing guns in Transformers 5, and I thought that would be a cool and creative visual that would perfectly fit with Wheeljack's character in this rewrite. In honor of Optimus, the squad adopts the codename Team Prime. All the while, Spike is hidden away inside Bumblebee's chest as a stowaway. As Team Prime heads to the garage to board their ship, Blur zips over to Bumblebee's side. Hey B, you gonna say the thing? What thing? You know, the thing. You know the thing I'm talking about. The catchphrase, the motto, the quote of the year. Optimus always says it. You know, Autobots, transform, man. It wouldn't feel right without Optimus. Blur shrugs and moves on. B looks over at Sideswipe and Sunstreaker. I'm expecting you two to be on your best behavior. Don't worry, B. I don't break the rules. I just bend them. A lot. That's what breaking the rules means, idiot. Sunstreaker smacks Sideswipe upside the head. Before Sideswipe can punch him back, Bumblebee gives him a warning by clearing his throat. Sideswipe lowers his fist, and Sunstreaker rubs this little victory into his brother's face by shouldering him as he walks ahead of him. Back on board the Nemesis, the Constructicons and Jetfire return from their errand victorious. The Constructicons triumphantly report that they've killed Optimus Prime. Starscream and Megatron don't buy it, but when Jetfire quietly confesses that he saw Optimus fall, silent disbelief overtakes the bridge. Could it really be true? The Decepticons start to murmur to each other in awe. The Fallen chuckles and stands from his throne. The Decepticons break out in applause and cheers as they celebrate the death of their greatest foe. But Megatron is frozen in place, staring blankly at the ground. Starscream notices his master's brooding and asks why he isn't thrilled to hear of his rival's defeat. Megatron slowly turns to look at Starscream. Because he didn't fall by my hand. Megatron skulks as he leaves the bridge, and we transition to a flashback on Cybertron. We see Optimus and Megatron fighting side by side as brothers against the Fallen's forces in the Prime War. Optimus and Megatron stand victorious over fields of dead bodies, and firmly clasp each other's forearms, symbolizing the brotherhood. Fast forward to Megatron eavesdropping on a conversation between Sentinel and Optimus Prime, and hearing Sentinel choose Optimus as his successor to rule Cybertron. Sentinel is old and tired, and is looking to retire and pass the torch onto his apprentice. Optimus declines, feeling he is unworthy of such a title. Sentinel then decides to make both Optimus and Megatron co-leaders of the planet. Megatron becomes jealous at having to share his power and believes that he deserves to be Cybertron's only ruler. Fast forward again to Cybertronian archaeologists excavating an ancient relic, one that seems to immediately enthrall Megatron's mind. It's the Staff of the Fallen, and Megatron begins to hear a voice call out to him from the mythical object. Megatron orders the artifact to be brought to his chambers, despite Optimus warning Megatron of how dangerous the staff is. Megatron deduces that the Fallen is speaking to him through the talisman, and the Prime of Lies begins filling Megatron's head with delusions of magnificence and majesty. Optimus comes looking for Megatron. He's concerned after hearing that Megatron had locked himself away in his chambers for days on end with nothing but the staff. Megatron is angered by Optimus's intrusion, and Optimus comments on how Megatron has changed ever since he found the staff. He's become so much more aggressive in his speech and demeanor. Megatron twists Optimus' sincere thoughtfulness into a pity party and becomes offended at how weak Optimus thinks he is. Megatron then kicks Optimus out of his room, threatening to kill him if he ever offends him like that again. A wedge has been permanently driven deep into their friendship. Fast forward to Megatron giving a rattling war speech to Cybertron's military and broadcasting it throughout the entire planet, calling all Cybertronians to take up arms against the Primes. Thus, the Decepticons were born, and the war for Cybertron began. Back in Autobot City, Team Prime boards the aircraft and leaves for China. As a side note, I want to add that ever since the humans forged their alliance with the Autobots, Wheeljack and Chip have combined their shared intellect to create new tech for Nest. Every vehicle, weapon, and piece of equipment will look like a seamless blend of Autobot and human engineering, giving all of Nest's gear a very futuristic look. So the customized aircraft that Team Prime boards will be large enough to comfortably house all the Autobots in both the robot and vehicle modes, while also having personalized stations for human passengers. Think of it as an oversized Quinjet from the Avengers films. Wheeljack briefs the team on their initiative. Since China is the planet's largest producer of rare earth metals, Director Fairborn was able to make an arrangement with China's leaders to allow Nest into their mines to extract the metals that they need. The list of materials that they need to create a substitute for protomatter are erbium, praseodymium, gadolinium, and neodymium. Team Prime's briefing is suddenly interrupted by a call from Fairborn. She informs Team Prime that satellites have picked up Decepticon activity in China. Apparently, the Decepticons are after the same rare earth metals that they are, and the Chinese government successfully managed to evacuate all of their personnel before the Decepticons could eliminate them. So, instead of being dropped off at the mines like they originally planned, the Autobots are going to have to land at a distance, take out the Decepticons quickly and quietly, and retrieve the metals before anyone can get hurt. In confidence, B shares with Spike how nervous he is leading a team for the first time. But you led the decoy team back on Cybertron when Optimus launched the Allspark. That was different. I always had Optimus' guidance to fall back on in case I made a mistake. Now I don't have him. None of us do. It's all on me now. I have to get this done. But I've never been given this much responsibility before. I've always been a scout. I'm a follower, Spike, not a leader. Spike reassures Bumblebee that as long as they all focus on the mission and work together as a team, they'll get through this. For this rewrite, I wanted to give Bumblebee a character arc. For those of you who don't know, character arcs are made up of 4 parts: a lie, a ghost, a want, and a need. The lie is a misconception that the character has of themselves or of the world around them. The ghost is the reason that supports this lie and convinces the character that the lie is true. The want is the character's strongest desire, and it's what propels the story. The need is the flaw that the character must recognize within themselves and overcome if they are ever to acquire their want. So, the lie in Bumblebee's arc is that he doesn't believe he's qualified to be a leader. The ghost that supports this lie is that he's always been a scout his whole life. He's always been a follower, never a leader. And because he's always been an underdog, B thinks he can never rise up and become an effective alpha. He thinks that a strong leader doesn't need help from his teammates to achieve victory. In his mind, a great leader should be able to shoulder the burdens of the entire team on their own, like Optimus. Bumblebee's want is to keep all of his teammates safe and successfully lead them in rescuing Optimus. But the need that he must come to terms with is that in order to prevail, Bumblebee is going to have to learn how to share his self-appointed burden with his teammates and place his faith in their support. Essentially, B needs to learn that faith in his teammates will help him be a better leader. With their human partners buckled up safely inside of them, the Autobots drive out of the aircraft in midair and skydive towards the ground. By the way, this will be the moment that Spike's presence is exposed to the rest of Team Prime. The Nest agents are surprised to see Spike, but Epps, who is the second in command of Team Prime, is okay with Spike's presence so long as Spike sticks close to them and does everything that they tell him to do. Spike and Epps ride inside Bumblebee, and they laugh and cheer excitedly as they freefall inside B's Camaro mode. It's a huge adrenaline rush for the humans, like riding a roller coaster. The twins will whoop with joy while Burke, who's riding inside Mirage, gets airsick. Mirage is freaking out and he rolls down the window and yells at Burke to not get any vomit inside of him. Burke hurls outside the window and the wind instantly pushes it back and splatters all over Blur, causing Sideswipe and Sunstreaker to burst out laughing. "Fastest racer on Cybertron," says Sideswipe, mimicking Blur's fast-paced voice. The rest of the Autobots can't help but laugh at Blur's predicament. Using parachutes, the Autobots land in the middle of the freeway and begin driving towards the mines, smoothly maneuvering their way through traffic. Once they get into the city and stop at an intersection, Team Prime finds himself swarmed by a crowd of enthusiastic Transformer fans who recognize their alt modes. Bumblebee sighs as Fangirl starts squealing with joy and begin taking pictures of them. Now this is more like it. This is exactly what we were trying to avoid. We should have scanned new vehicles and gotten paint jobs. And give up this look? Scrap that. Probably would have been a good idea. Can't believe I didn't think of that. So stupid. I don't know. I kinda like the attention. Nice change of pace from getting shot at by cons. For once we concur, Sideswipe. It only makes sense that such primitive creatures give us our due worship. Chip rolls down Wheeljack's window just as a pair of panties are flung into his face. He quickly rolls up the window in embarrassment while the other Nest agents laugh at him. Spike rolls down his window to ask one of the girls for their number, right as the light turns green and Bumblebee slams on the gas, giving Spike whiplash. Sorry buddy, but long distance never works out. We cut back to the Allspark, where Optimus and Mortillus Prime exit out of the portal into Optimus's first memory examination. They are back on Cybertron, specifically Iacon City, the capital of the Autobots. Optimus watches his past self help Sentinel host the memorial service for all of those who died in the Prime War. After Sentinel Prime delivers his eulogy and the rest of the Cybertronians go their separate ways, past Optimus approaches his old mentor and tells him that he now understands Sentinel's philosophy of freedom being the right of all sentient beings. Past Optimus confesses that he never fully understood the full meaning of the phrase until now. Mortillus Prime looks over at present Optimus. The tragedies of war taught me many things. The true value of an individual life, regardless of its form, being foremost among them. Let us move on then. Mortillus summons up another portal, and the two Primes disappear through it. Back in China, Team Prime arrives at the mine to find Decepticon protoforms collecting all of the minerals and loading them up onto orbital assault carriers. Bumblebee orders Mirage and RC to take up sniper positions while he and the rest of the Autobots launch an ambush. RC's arm transforms into a crossbow, while Mirage draws out a sniper rifle, and comments on how the mines on Earth are nothing compared to the Energon mines that he used to own back on Cybertron. RC and Mirage will pick off several guards with their long-distance weapons, while Blur will crash through some of the miners with his super speed. Bumblebee will tase the pilots with his stingers, and Wheeljack will stop the rest of the Decepticons dead in their tracks with his time bubble gun, preventing them from sounding the alarm. Sideswipe will take the opportunity to shatter the immobilized Decepticons with his jackhammer arms, while Sunstreaker will tear the Decepticons apart with a barrage of bullets like how War Machine took out those drones in Iron Man 2. The twins will start having a competition as to how many Decepticons they can each kill before the mission is over. With the area secure, Wheeljack, Chip, and Donnelly get to mining the metals they need while the rest of Team Prime provides them with cover. Mirage suddenly spots a Decepticon straggler off in the distance. He reports over comlink that they missed one, and the twins excitedly rush forward, eager to resume their competition, but they're called off by Bumblebee. B runs after the Decepticon, but one of the fallen protoforms on the ground is still alive, and he grabs B by the ankle and trips him. B finishes killing the con, and transforms and drives after the surviving guard, who has now spotted the Autobot intruders and is fleeing the scene. Mirage tells Bumblebee that he has a clear shot, but B stubbornly persists that he can get the con by himself. But Bumblebee underestimates the guard when he transforms into a jet instead of a car like B predicted. B jumps and tackles the guard down, but not before he manages to contact Decepticon HQ and alert them to the Autobots' presence. Bumblebee returns to the others and insists that they need to leave immediately since their cover has been blown. Bumblebee anxiously waits for the scientists to finish harvesting the metal before they all transform and move out. The rest of Team Prime is disturbed by what just happened. This is extremely out of character for Bumblebee. B, what was that all about? Ugh, I thought I had him. Well, next time let the others help you, alright? We're all on the same team. I have to lead by example, Spike. It's not just my weight I have to pull now. It's everyone else's too. I have to make sure we pull this off. I know, but you can't be everywhere at once. We have your back, B. Don't forget that. I'll try. Team Prime rendezvous with the Nest aircraft, and as they board the ship, another call from Director Fairborn comes in. Nest Intelligence informs her that the Decepticons are planning something big in Peru. They've been stealing materials all around the world to help them finish building some kind of device. A satellite picture reveals a Star Harvester, which none of them recognize except for Wheeljack, who's the only Autobot present that is old enough to have been around since the Prime War. The Autobot scientist explains the purpose and origin of the Star Harvesters to the rest of the team, and what will happen to the Earth's sun if the Star Harvester in Peru is completed. Fairborn stresses that the stakes are too high for Team Prime to return to base and then deploy for Peru. They need to head to the Star Harvester ASAP. But Bumblebee exclaims that they need Optimus's help if they're going to stop the Decepticons. Fairborn arranges to have Lennox sent to Peru with a regiment of Nest agents and promises Bumblebee that Optimus will be sent along with them, so that Wheeljack and Ratchet can immediately get to work preparing him. But they can't afford to wait for Prime to be fully healed before they launch their attack, and they need to come up with a plan to take down the Star Harvester by the time they reach Peru. Meanwhile, in Autobot City, the rest of the Autobots who stayed behind are updated on current events. While Ratchet and Ironhide work on preparing Optimus for travel, Lennox mobilizes his men and gets ready to deploy for Peru. In the middle of loading Optimus onto a carrier, Ratchet breaks down and angrily tells Ironhide that they made a mistake staying on Earth after Exantium showed up. Ratchet goes as far as to say that Optimus wouldn't be in the condition he's in if he had chosen to prioritize Cybertron over Earth. They could have put all of their efforts into repairing the Exantium and then fly off back to Cybertron with the Allspark. The war could have been over by now. Ironhide calms Ratchet down and reminds him that Optimus felt he had an obligation to protect Earth so long as the Decepticons continued to be a threat to the humans.
Ironhide, we should leave this planet.
That's not what Optimus would want.
Ratchet and Ironhide will then carefully retrieve the Allspark from its vault within Autobot City, and they'll gently load it into the Nest carrier as the rest of the Nest agents fly off to Peru. I also want to add that due to the dire threat that the Star Harvester poses, Director Fairborn grants the Wreckers authorization to leave the base and go join the Nest army shipping out for Peru. The Wreckers are thrilled to finally get some fresh air, and they'll whoop, cheer, and joyfully cuss as they board the last carrier, while Steeljaw happily gnaws away on a piece of scrap metal. Fairborn rolls her eyes. Those dumbasses are going to put me in an early retirement. Back at the Allspark, Optimus and Mortilis enter into the next memory. This memory took place several days after Optimus's confrontation with Megatron concerning the staff. After learning that Megatron had been corrupted by the fallen staff, Optimus returns to his office to consider his next step. Megatron's call to arms against the Primes is suddenly broadcasted through all of Cybertron's channels, including Optimus's computer. While staring out the window of his office in despair, Optimus notices a sniper aiming at him. He takes cover as the sniper opens fire and Optimus retreats into a secret exit that leads underground. Optimus contacts Sentinel Prime and informs him that Megatron sent an assassin after him. They meet up and Sentinel realizes that he must come out of retirement and lead those still loyal to the Primes against Megatron and his new army. Optimus humbly kneels before Sentinel and begs for his forgiveness. Optimus blames this war on himself because he lacked the will to become Sentinel's direct successor, therefore allowing Megatron's ego to grow while he was named co-ruler of Cybertron. Sentinel comforts his former student and tells him that if one is to be a champion of truth and justice, then conflict will always be inevitable, because there will always be evil to challenge good. If it hadn't been Megatron, then some other force of evil would have eventually risen to challenge them again. Despite Sentinel's words, you still bear guilt in your spark for this war. Not a day goes by that I don't think of what could have been if I had been able to save Megatron from himself. Contrary to the legends, we Primes are not gods, Optimus. We cannot remedy all of the world's issues. Fate has a way of playing itself out, regardless of the circumstances. If something is meant to unfold, fate will make it so. Come, we have lingered too long. Mortilis opens up another portal for he and Optimus to cross into. Back on Earth, Team Prime deploys for Peru, with Wheeljack taking special care of the rare Earth metals he and Chip collected. The Autobots will talk strategy. Bumblebee thinks that Team Prime is too small to do any real damage to the Decepticon forces, and thinks waiting for Lennox's backup is the best option. But the rest of the Autobots disagree. They're all confident that through stealth and teamwork, they can at the very least disable the Star Harvester and prevent the Decepticons from firing their Doomsday weapon. That's why you brought us along on this mission, right? Because we're the fastest and the quietest. That's not the word I'd use. The humans laugh at Sunstreaker's comment while Blur frowns. I say it's worth a shot. Yeah, a little guerrilla warfare never hurt anybody. Plus Fairborn is right. We can't afford to wait for Lennox. We have to act first. What do you say, B? But Bumblebee shuts them all down. The rest of Team Prime is disappointed in Bumblebee's lack of faith in them, and they all look at him in disbelief. Wheeljack asks Bumblebee for a word in private, and he pulls the young scout aside. Wheeljack recognizes that Bumblebee is stressed out and offers him some advice. He counsels Bumblebee to be more open-minded about the rest of the team's suggestions. Bumblebee explains that he shut out everyone else's ideas not because he doesn't value their input, but because he's worried about risking all of their lives and wants to come up with a plan where everyone in Team Prime will come out safe and sound. But Wheeljack reminds Bumblebee that in war, there are no guarantees, and that every member of the team is there by choice. If worst comes to worst and they all die, it's because they chose to lay down their lives for freedom. That's what it means to be an Autobot. Bumblebee's eyes are open, and he realizes that his stress pushed away all of his teammates and lose faith in them. A true leader doesn't deny their faults, Bumblebee. A true leader confronts his weaknesses with faith. Faith in the future. Faith in their followers. And most importantly, faith in themselves. Bumblebee nods, accepting Wheeljack's advice. While Bumblebee and Wheeljack talk, Spike overhears the rest of the Autobots mumbling to each other about Bumblebee. They all agree that in the past, Bumblebee has been invaluable to the cause as a soldier, and they all like his personality, but he just doesn't have what it takes to be a leader. RC tries to remind the rest of her teammates that none of them could ever be half the leader Optimus is, and it isn't fair for them to compare Bumblebee to Optimus. Nonetheless, the rest of the team doesn't feel confident in trusting Bumblebee to lead this mission. Mirage is starting to let fear overtake him, and he shares with the rest of the team that he doesn't care how the war ends anymore. He just wants it to be over with. He's so tired of fighting that he's willing to surrender to the Decepticons if it means survival. Sunstreaker calls Mirage out for being a coward and a sellout, but Blur steps in to defend Mirage, with Sideswipe joining in the argument to support his brother. The arguing escalates when Epps butts into the bickering and tries to defuse the tension. "Stay out of it, meatbag. This has nothing to do with you." Excuse me? This has everything to do with me. This is our planet, not yours." Spike and the rest of the humans join in on the debate, with Spike defending Bumblebee and accusing the Autobots of being fickle with their loyalty. Right when things start to look bad, they want to take the easy way out and quit on Bumblebee instead of sticking it out. The Autobots profess that they've done nothing but stick it out for the past 100 years. They've been jumping from one planet to the next, looking for a place they can call home. They point out to Spike that he doesn't know what it's like to have his home taken away from him. The fighting starts to get out of control when the twins threaten the humans by drawing their weapons, and the Nest agents respond by raising their guns at the two brothers. RC will draw her crossbow and order the twins to stand down, resulting in a standoff. Bumblebee and Wheeljack walk over and command Team Prime to lay down their arms, but the tensions are already too high for the twins to comply with Bumblebee's command. What comes next will serve as the midpoint or halfway point of our film. The midpoint is when things go from good to bad or bad to worse for our protagonists. Before the standoff can intensify even further, the Nest pilot reports to Epps that there's multiple bogies incoming. Epps looks outside to see the Seekers heading straight towards them. Damn it! The Nest aircraft attempts evasive maneuvers, but they are nonetheless shot down by missiles launched by the Seekers. As the aircraft spirals out of control, Bumblebee yells for everyone to jump out of the ship. Every Autobot tries to grab their respective human partner, but the ship's jerking makes it impossible for them to keep their balance. One by one, each member of Team Prime slides and falls out of the airship, with everyone falling at different locations within the jungle while the ship continues to spin out of control. The pilot's seatbelts are jammed, and Spike tries to cut him free, but the aircraft is about to crash into the side of the mountain. Bumblebee grabs Spike and pulls him out of the aircraft right before it collides with the mountainside and explodes. Bumblebee and Spike free fall into the jungle down below. B holds Spike close to his chest, and we cut to black right before Bumblebee makes impact with the ground. And that concludes part 2 of my rewrite for Transformers 2. This completes the first half of Act 2, sometimes called Fun and Games, and in the next video, which is part 3, we're going to move on to the last half of Act 2, which is sometimes called The Bad Guys Close In. If you want to be updated on when parts 3 and 4 come out, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you can get notified every time I post a new video. Meanwhile, let me know how you guys feel so far about this rewrite and where you'd like to see it go. Since I forgot to ask this question last time, I want to pose it to you guys this time around. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about the new Autobots in this rewrite, and where you'd like to see them go in future videos. In the meantime, till all are one.